At a helicopter testing facility of a major aviation corporation, a young CEO named Aurora Valine stood beside a brand-new prototype, aircraft worth $20 million. Her designer heels clicked against the concrete as she inspected the machine. Nearby, a man in a janitor's uniform quietly wiped the cockpit windows. His movements were calm, practiced. Aurora glanced at him with a half-smile filled with mockery. "Fly this helicopter," she said loudly, "and I'll marry you." Laughter exploded across the hangar. Employees pulled out their phones, ready to record the humiliation. The janitor, Jack Turner, simply smiled. Minutes later, the engine roared to life. The helicopter lifted smoothly into the air, circling the facility with sharp, controlled turns. When it landed perfectly, the laughter died instantly. Silence swallowed the hangar. Jack Turner was 40 years old, a single father. He had once been a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, a tactical flight instructor who trained elite pilots. A crash during a training mission ended his career. He saved his crew but suffered an injury that grounded him forever. Soon after, cancer took his wife, leaving him alone with their 9-year-old daughter, Ella. Every morning, Ella hugged him and said, "Daddy, you don't need medals. You'll always be my hero." Jack now worked at Aerosky Corporation as a janitor, not because he wanted to, but because he needed to provide. No one knew his past. No one asked. Aerosky was preparing to launch the Valkyrie V9, a revolutionary helicopter with a powerful new autopilot system. But no engineer was willing to test-fly it. Calculations were safe. Real flight was not. Aurora, ruthless and impatient, called an emergency meeting. "We've spent $40 million, she snapped. "And not one of you has the courage to fly it?" An engineer admitted they needed a professional test pilot, someone with military experience. From the back of the hangar, Jack spoke calmly. "Maybe you're looking in the wrong place." The room burst into laughter. Aurora stared at him, amused. "You? You think you can fly a $20 million aircraft?" "I didn't say that," Jack replied. "You said you needed someone." Phones came out again. This was entertainment now. Aurora smirked. "Fine. Fly it successfully and I'll marry you." Jack met her eyes. "Deal." The laughter faded as Jack walked toward the helicopter. He checked the fuselage, rotors, and controls with expert precision. When he started the engine, several engineers went pale. The Valkyrie lifted into the air. Jack pushed it through aggressive combat maneuvers, tight turns, sharp dives, stress tests no civilian pilot would attempt. The helicopter responded flawlessly. When he landed, the hangar was dead silent. Aurora whispered, "Who are you?" Jack handed her a worn pilot ID card. "Lieutenant Colonel Jack Turner. Tactical Flight Division, United States Air Force." An engineer gasped. "He trained half the military pilots in this country." Aurora stared at Jack, as if the ground beneath her had shifted. The noise of the hangar, the hum of machines, the murmurs of engineers, the distant wind, seemed to fade into nothing. For the first time since she had inherited the company, she felt unsteady. "You've been cleaning floors for 6 months," she said slowly. Her voice quieter now, stripped of its usual authority. 6 months? Why?" Jack didn't answer immediately. He stood with his hands resting loosely at his sides. Shoulders relaxed, eyes calm. He had faced missile lock warnings, emergency landings, had life-or-death decisions at 30,000 feet. This moment strangely felt heavier. "I needed a job," he said simply. There was no bitterness in his voice, no drama, just truth. "My daughter needed food, a roof, school supplies. Pride doesn't pay bills." The words landed hard. Aurora swallowed. Around them, the engineers stood frozen. Some stared at the floor. Fathers stared at Jack, seeing him for the first time not as a janitor but as a man. Jack turned slowly, looking around the group. His gaze wasn't angry. It was observant, steady, almost gentle. "You laughed," he continued. "Not because I said something foolish. You laughed because of a uniform." He gestured lightly to his janitor clothes. "You didn't know my story, but you also didn't care to know it. And that's the problem. Not just here, everywhere." No one interrupted him. "Every person in this room is fighting something you can't see," Jack said. "Fear, loss, debt, illness, regret. You don't know what someone has survived just because they're quiet, or because they clean floors instead of signing contracts." He paused, letting the words sink in. That's why respect matters. Not because of rank, not because of money, but because we're human. Silence wrapped the hangar like a heavy blanket. Aurora felt her throat tighten. Her vision blurred before she realized tears were forming. She turned her face slightly. Embarrassed